Thom è stato nominato 14 volte agli Oscar, una agli Emmy e una ai Grammy. Ha vinto 2 premi Oscar, uno per Uomini Veri e un altro per Gli Incredibili. È direttore del sound design per lo Skywalker Sound. Randy è da tempo un sostenitore dell'idea che il sound designer debba lavorare a partire dalla sceneggiatura del film, che debba essere informato sul modo in cui viene girato il film, che abbia bisogno di sentirsi parte del DNA e non sia semplicemente un autore di una decorazione aggiunta prima che il film arrivi in sala. A View si è occupato di sound design nelle fasi di pre-produzione.
Well, I think there are lots of ways that sound can help people, help directors or producers or writers when they're beginning to work on a project. I think the most important thing for a director or a writer to think about early on is what the characters hear. If you think about an individual character, you need to think not only what sounds does this person hear in the story, or what sounds do they remember having heard earlier in their lives, but what effects do those sounds have on them? Are there sound themes that we can develop, and then variations on those themes to help tell this person's story? I think there's so many ways that sound can shape a film. Though it's certainly true that when we are in a screening room and we're experiencing a film, the thing that we're most likely to think about are the visual images. But in a way, that's a very important tool for sound, the fact that people aren't aware of how sound is affecting them. Sound sneaks into the side door of the brain without being noticed, so you can do lots of storytelling with sound and make people feel a certain way without them realizing, oh, well, I'm being made to feel a certain way with the sound. Obviously, if you do something too obvious with the music, then people will be aware that they're being manipulated. But one of the great things about sound design is that people don't, it affects them emotionally, but they don't think of it in the same way that they think of music. Surprisingly, there aren't as many differences between doing sound effects, at least, for a live action film and an animation film as you might think. People tend to assume that it's a completely different world. Certainly for certain kinds of films there is. If you were working on a Woody Allen film, let's say, that would be very different from doing the sound for an animated film, because a Woody Allen film is mostly characters talking, and the way that the dialogue is handled in live action and animation is very different. But the sound effects work is pretty similar. Especially since many of the films that we work on these days have lots of computer graphics in them anyway, they might as well be animated, because we have to invent the entire sonic universe in either case, whether it's live action or animation. There are lots of films that I've worked on that were very hard, that I really had to struggle to be successful at. And sometimes those are the most rewarding in the end. You know, working with David Lynch was difficult because I knew it was an important film to work on for him and for me and my career, and David always expects you to be at the top of your game creatively, and so that was a very intense experience for me, and one that I'll always remember. Apocalypse Now, because it was the first film that I ever worked on, is certainly one that I remember. Forrest Gump is another, The Incredibles is another for animation, but I could go on and name many. There have been lots of memorable movie experiences for me. Yeah, I think it's unfortunate that filmmakers tend to think of sound design as something that only happens in post-production. I think the great sound design sequences in film always start with the script, and they involve a lot of experimentation and thinking about sound from very early in pre-production. It's very difficult to do something really significant with sound if you wait until post-production to start, because all the creative decisions and all the other crafts have been made by then. And the best moments come from real collaboration, in which ideas from one craft influence ideas from another craft. And I hope sound has more opportunity to participate in that kind of interaction. I think it's a tragic thing that music and sound effects for film often find themselves as enemies or competitors in the process of making a film. And that shouldn't be the case. The two groups of people should work together so that the film has a feeling that all of the sound is one composition in a way. I think in certain sequences in a film, the music should dominate, and perhaps the music should be the only thing that you hear. In other sequences, the sound effects should be the main thing you hear. And the delicate balance of passing the ball back and forth between the storytelling ball, between music and sound effects is, it's a difficult dance to work out, but it's possible to work it out so that there is no conflict and that each enhances the other. I've had a few of those experiences, but there need to be more of those. And the only way to make them happen is if the director and the composer and the sound designer all agree that they should happen and that that's a priority. It's very difficult to get into film sound design. There are lots of people who want to do it, more people who want to do it than there are jobs out there. And I think the only suggestion that I can give is that you be persistent if that's really your dream. You keep trying. You're going to be disappointed very often. I was very lucky getting into film myself and worked on a great film right off the bat, but that's not the case for very many people. So you need to be persistent and you need to impress someone with your imagination and with the fact that you're a good person to work with, because that's often what gets you hired. People want to work with someone who is funny and friendly but also serious about the work. And the people who are successful usually have a combination of all of those characteristics.